Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Before Coffee. It is the Friday news dump. We're going to cover all the news you need to worry about for the weekend so that you can go out freely, blissfully ignorant of everything that's happening in the world. This is Before Coffee, the father and daughter comprehensive news of Planet Earth podcast, where we look up our news stories 10 to 15 minutes before we start, and we have no caffeine. Let's check out these headlines for today's episode. Today on Before Coffee, Notre Dame welcomes arrival of 3 new bells as Cathedral is reopening. Woohoo!
And we have bodies decomposing at a Colorado mortuary. And we have Los Angeles wildfires.
What does the German government breakdown mean for Europe?
And a NASA astronaut remains hospitalized after an extended stay in space.
Interview with jazz guitarist Pat Metheny on crafting hits with Joni Mitchell and David Bowie. I had to keep telling myself it was real.
Oh boy, and luckily for us, it's National Cappuccino Day. So pull up a cappuccino on November 8th, 1920. 1920. Yeah, I'm back in the time. I just got off my time machine. I don't know what century I'm in. It's National Cappuccino Day, November 8th, 2024 on Before Coffee.
Before the 21st century. That's where we are today on Before Coffee.
Yes.
All right.
I was just having a conversation with Doctor Who. And
let's be honest. What happened in the beginning of the 20th century? Not good things, and it's not feeling that good right now either. Will we have another century-long world war?
The 1920s ended with the Great Depression. Let's remember that. And that's where we're headed now, because we elected the right guy for that. He's going to destroy our economy.
Okay.
Just wait.
Anyways,
let's talk about... Whether it's deporting illegals or raising terrorists, he's going to destroy our economy.
Let's talk about Notre Dame.
He's doing it on purpose.
Instead of that, because you can go on a rant on your own story. Thank you.
Yep. Well, when you say the parallels, there's your parallel right there.
Let's go ahead and talk about the Notre Dame Cathedral, which got burned down almost completely following in 2019. And now we've talked about before how they were starting to do reconstruction, that they're hoping it would be ready. I think it was like next year, maybe even 2026. And it looks like it's going pretty good. This is from Christophe Enna and AP. Paris, Notre Dame Cathedral, whose historic bells were silenced following 2019's devastating fire, will soon echo again with fresh chimes. It takes a long time to craft bells, okay? You got to get a huge chunk of metal, you have to shape it into a bell, and you have to make sure that it's not deformed, and it's a perfect bell so that the sound can carry on into the centuries, hopefully. On Thursday, which was November 7th, the Gothic landmark took delivery of 3 new bells, including one that was used in the city's Stade de France stadium during this year's Paris Olympic Games. The Olympic bell, a gift from Paris 2024 organizing committee, will be installed alongside 2 smaller bells named Chiara and Carlos. I love how they named the bells. Good old Carlos the bell. Above the altar where they will be rung during Mass, officials said. The arrival ahead of Notre Dame's reopening. Oh, actually, they're reopening this year. I thought it was next year. The reopening on December 8th marks a milestone in the painstaking restoration and modernization. The 861-year-old cathedral, made famous around the world by Victor Hugo's The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Olivier Ribadeau-Dumas, rector of Notre Dame, expressed gratitude for the bell's arrival during a ceremony. "What a joy it is," he said. "At the most important moment of the Mass, these bells will ring, just as they did when the victor of a competition could celebrate their victory." During the Paris 2024 Games, the iconic Olympic bell was rung by each track and field winner. It bears a mark of the Paris 2024 while the two others are adorned with a round symbol combining the image of Notre Dame's iconic rosary window with the monstrance, a religious vessel central to the cathedral's altar. And there's a picture of the bell with a close-up. Notre Dame, very embossed on there, like very deep. No, it's not carved in, but it's placed on, I guess, just stamped on. Notre Dame. Crafted by the renowned Cornell Harvard foundry in Villejuif, Normandy, the bells embody France's distinguished bell-making tradition. In a solemn moment, Dumas consecrated the bells with holy water and a tree branch. Standing on the square outside the cathedral, he and Tony Estonguet, head of the Paris 2024 organizing committee, struck the bells with a wooden mallet to mark the occasion. What a powerful symbol it is to see this second life given to Paris 2024 bell, which brought us so many emotions during these games, Estonguet said. The bells replaced three that were previously positioned near Notre Dame's 19th century spire, which dramatically collapsed during the fire which ripped through the cathedral's rafters and roofs. New bells will be placed in a different location within the cathedral's officials said, where their return will add to the soundscape of Notre Dame's daily life. They joined the 8 historic bells from the cathedral's north tower that were reinstalled in September after being cleaned and renovated. Those bells, Gabriel, Anna Genevieve, Denis, Marcel, Etienne, Benoit, Joseph, Maurice, and Jean-Marie were originally cast in 2013 for Notre Dame's 850th anniversary. The cathedral's 2 largest bells remain intact on the south tower and were unaffected by the blaze, officials added. The reconstruction of Notre Dame has involved more than 250 companies and hundreds of skilled craftsmen. The Olympic bell isn't the only symbol of old meeting new in Notre Dame's evolving restoration. Perched atop the newly designed spire, a golden rooster, reimagined by chief architect Philippe Villeneuve, mocks a blend of the cathedral's ancient spirit with a modern touch. I think we talked about the weather vane before when we were talking about the original reconstruction. The weather vane, which resembles a phoenix with flames licking its wings, is described as a testament to hope and revival. So, woohoo, yeah, if you ever find yourself in Paris around December, which I'm sure a lot of people will be flocking to Paris for winter, just to see the Notre Dame in its reconstructed glory, check it out, listen to the new bells ring out, and I guess not everything, that's really quick turnaround, honestly, 2019 to 2024, and it's ready to go. That's my story, on to yours.
All right, we're going to talk about dead people and, well, almost dead people in our section. Not in that order. Actually, we're just going to do one story in this section. I'll do 2 for it. Screw it. We're going to do the Colorado Funeral Home, and the NASA astronaut. They're kind of related, I guess. I don't know, not really. Colorado Funeral Home. This is from AP News. Jesse Bedian, Colorado Funeral Home owners accused of letting 190 bodies decompose are said to plead guilty. This is Denver, AP. The husband and wife owners of a funeral home accused of basically just piling 190 bodies inside a room temperature building in Colorado were given grieving families fake ashes. Were expected to plead guilty Friday, charged with hundreds of counts of corpse abuse. The discovery last year which I'm pretty sure we reported on. The discovery last year shattered families' grieving process, the milestones of mourning, the goodbye as the ashes were picked up by the wind, the relief that they had fulfilled their loved ones' wishes, the moments cradling the urn. It says urn. It's I read RN as an M. Anyway, the moments cradling the urn and musing on memories now felt hollow. The couple, John and Carrie Halford, who own Return to Nature Funeral Home in Colorado Springs, began stashing bodies in a dilapidated building outside the city as far back as 2019, according to the charges, giving families dry concrete in place of remains. Wow. Here's your ashes, and you open it up, and it's basically just concrete that hasn't been mixed yet. That's fucked up. While going into debt, the Halfords spent extravagantly, prosecutors say. They used customers' money, nearly $900,000 in pandemic relief funds, and nearly $900,000 in pandemic relief funds intended for their business to buy fancy cars, laser body sculpting, trips to Las Vegas and Florida, $31,000 in cryptocurrency, and other luxury items, according to court records.
Wow, that's really helped them through the pandemic, I'm sure. The driving they got to do. Driving where? There's nowhere to go.
Yeah, this is kind of why when I said, you was like, when you died, didn't you want to be left in like one of them things and funeral things where they put you in a tree and let the tree's roots feed off you or whatever? And I'm like, yeah, it sounds like a great idea, but I'm sure it's going to be a ripoff, just like these people were. The death industry is a ripoff. I'm sorry.
Well, you don't have to do it with the funeral home. You can just say, I'm burying my dad in a tree. Goodbye. And, you just plant a tree seed on you and
That's
leave.
true, I guess. But somebody would have to do it, go to the trouble to do it. And who's going to trust to do that? I don't
Me. I'll do it myself.
Last month. Okay. Are you going to be around?
I hope I'm still alive, yeah.
All right. Well. Last month, the Halfords pleaded guilty to federal fraud charges as part of an agreement in which they acknowledged defrauding customers and the federal government. On Friday, in state court, the two were expected to plead guilty in connection with more than 200 charges of corpse abuse, theft, forgery, and money laundering. John Halford is represented by public defender's office, which does not comment on cases. Carrie Halford's attorney, Michael Stuzinski, declined to comment. After over 4 years, the customers of Return to Nature received what they thought were families' remains. Some spread those ashes in meaningful locations, sometimes in a plane's flightway. Others brought urns on road trips across the country and held them tight at home, and they just turned out to be fucking concrete. Some were drawn, well, you can build something out of them, I guess, huh? Some were drawn to the funeral home as offer of green burials, which the home's website says skipped embalming chemicals and metal caskets. Oh, they sure as hell did that, didn't they? And used biodegradable caskets, shrouds, and nothing at all. There you go. They definitely used biodegradable people and just left them in a room to just sit there and blow it up and be disgusting. The morbid discovery of the allegedly? Why do we put an allegedly in here? The morbid discovery of improperly discarded bodies was made last year when neighbors reported a stench emanating from the building owned by Return to Nature in a small town of Penrose, southwest of Colorado Springs. In some instances, bodies were found stacked on top of each other, swarmed by insects. Some were too decayed to visibly identify. The site was so toxic that responders had to use specialized hazmat gear to enter the building. They could only remain inside for brief periods before exiting and going through a rigorous decontamination, like a nuclear waste site. The case was not unprecedented. 6 years ago, owners of another Colorado funeral home were accused of selling body parts and similarly using dry concrete to mimic human remains. The suspects in that case received lengthy federal prison sentence for mail fraud. But it wasn't until the bodies were found at the Return to Nature that legislatures finally strengthened what were previously some of the laxest funeral home regulations in the country, apparently. Unless most states, Colorado didn't require routine inspections of funeral homes or credentials for the business operators. This year, lawmakers brought Colorado's regulations up to par with most other states. On to the NASA astronaut who's in the hospital for something. This is also from AP News. Marcia Dunn. A NASA astronaut was taken to the hospital for an undisclosed medical issue after returning from nearly 8-month space station stay extended by Boeing's capsule trouble in Hurricane Milton, the space agency said Friday. A SpaceX capsule carrying the 3 Americans, 1 Russian, parachuted before dawn into the Gulf of Mexico just off the Florida coast after undocking for the International Space Station midweek. The capsule was hoisted into the recovery ship where the 4 astronauts had routine medical checks. Soon after the splashdown, a NASA astronaut had a medical issue. It was flown to the hospital in Pensacola, Florida for additional evaluation. Out of an abundance of caution, the space agency said in the statement. The astronaut, who was not identified for some reason, you can narrow it down.
Yeah. Who's missing?
And like, oh my God, there could be thousands of people. No,
yeah.
Right? Let's narrow it down. We just figure out, call the ones on the phone. The ones that answer are not in the hospital, right?
Yeah.
The astronaut was not identified as in a stable condition and remained in the hospital as a precautionary measure. The state agency said it would not share details about the astronaut's condition. I think he's got space COVID. I think that's what it is. Got a case of space COVID, and they don't want us to know. All right? You can only get it from aliens.
Oh, no, not the space COVID.
We might have anti-gravity disease, too. Your organs don't go back in the right place, right? Your organs have been floating around all this time without gravity, and now they're like, what the hell is that shit? And then they don't go back, right? Anyway, it can take days or even weeks for astronauts to readjust because of air pressure. There's no air pressure up there. Just like going underwater.
Yeah.
Immense water pressure. You go up too fast, you hit the vents. It can take days or even weeks for astronauts to readjust to gravity after living in weightlessness for several months. The astronauts should have been back 2 months ago, but their homecoming was stalled by problems with Boeing's new Starliner astronaut capsule, which came back empty in September because of safety concerns. Then Hurricane Milton interfered, following another 2 weeks of high winds and rough seas. The replacements are two Starliner test pilots, Butch Wilmore and Suni Williams. His own mission went from 8 days to 8 months, and the two astronauts launched by SpaceX 4 weeks ago. Those four will remain up there until February. The space station is now back to its normal crew size of 7, 4 Americans and 3 Russians, after months of overflow. So there you are. I'm probably sure this astronaut will never go up in space again because he came back sick, right? They do test you for that kind of stuff before they make you an astronaut. And once you come back and you can't function as a person, they're going to be like, yeah, I don't think we're sending you to space anymore. I mean, you can go, but you're going to have to pay somebody. Those are your stories for today, at least my first segment. And I did send you a video that's related to
I've already slotted it in.
History. Right on. Back to you.
All right. Let's look at the collapsing German government, or at least supposedly it's collapsing, because according to everybody on social media who wants to go into a panic about everything. But I'm actually going to look at what's actually happening with the breaking coalition under, what was his name again? Olaf Scholz. So, this is on Euronews by Liv Stroud. German government's collapse, which came just hours after the US President Donald Trump was elected for a second time, has sent shockwaves throughout Europe, but what does it mean for the rest of the EU? Following the German government coalition breakup on Wednesday, which was the 6th of November, Chancellor Olaf Scholz said he would hold a vote of confidence in January, which could pave way for new elections as early as March. Opposition party CDU, which is probably the Christian Democrat Union, however, is demanding Scholz holds the vote as early as next week, which could see fresh elections at the end of January. Coalition split due to irreparable differences over the 2025 household budget. Though their past 3 years in office have been marred by constant inter-party fighting, differences between the parties' politics have been magnified by a series of crises that hit Europe and Germany one after another. When the Traffic Light Coalition was elected back in 2021, the COVID fallout had only just begun. Russia had just not yet launched its full-scale invasion of Ukraine, and the Nord Stream 2 pipeline would soon be shut, sending energy prices and costs rocketing. The Social Democrats, SPD, and the German Green and Liberals, FDP, clashed repeatedly, drawing major media criticism in Germany. The German government has now been plunged in complete chaos in a development which is likely to see Europe needing to beef up its security and defense as the US follows a more inward-looking policy. But is it, however, a question of timing? EU policy expert Dr. Thu Nguyen tells Euronews the breakup was bound to happen. I think, a lot of people I've seen who are German, who live in Germany, were like, this coalition was not tied up together to begin with, so it's amazing it lasted this long. Domestically, the breakup of the coalition was inevitable. The signs were there in the days before. The differences and conflicts between the three coalition partners were just too big to overcome, he says, adding that the timing is unfortunate given that the EU and Germany need strong leadership. Dr. Nguyen hopes the situation will be temporary and will be alleviated as soon as another government comes into power, although she says the EU needs to ensure there is a common European response to the elections in the US. One of the biggest worries she has is the leaders such as Viktor Orban, and Giorgia Meloni could push a vision of European Union that is maybe more pro-Russian or less green or even harder on migration because they feel empowered by the results of the US election. The risk here would be that Europe may splinter even further. Without a functioning government in Germany and with very weakened French president and French government, there's simply a lack of leadership, he says. Yes, the French and Germans are very important to the EU. They're basically the reason they exist, so that they could get along together, because every time they weren't getting along, there would be a big fight, and we don't want any big fights in Europe. So Germany needs to decide what they're going to do there. For an update on that ongoing collapse of the government, we have Schultz naming a new finance minister. This is kind of why the collapse happened. They had to fire the current finance minister, and now they've named a new one to replace them during this coalition crisis. This is by Jasmin Paternoster, also on Euronews. German leader Olaf Scholz has replaced his finance minister with current state secretary in the chancellery, Jörg Kukis, according to domestic outlets. Kukis, who worked at Goldman Sachs for 17 years, is considered a close advisor of Scholz and belongs to his center-left Social Democrat Party, SPD. The politician was previously state secretary for financial market policy and European policy. Kukis will replace former finance minister Christian Lindner, who was sacked from the country's unpopular ruling coalition on Wednesday evening when the coalition collapsed. His dismissal had plunged the government into a political chaos, with Lindner's center-right Free Democratic Party, FDP, withdrawing its ministers and leaving the remaining parties without a parliamentary majority. Ministers for Transport, Justice, and Education all announced their resignations. President Frank-Walter Steinmeier noted that it's rare the government in Germany would not have a majority before the end of its legislative period. He said the country's constitution had made provisions for such cases, and that the situation was a political crisis that we must and will put behind us. Economy Minister Robert Habeck, who belongs to the Green Party, has said his ministers will remain in office until the vote in order to keep the country capable of acting. However, without a parliamentary majority, the now two-way coalition will have to collect individual votes from other parties to pass laws. Lindner clashed with his coalition partners over economic policy. The question of how to plug a debt hole in the country's budget brought tensions between the party to the surface over the summer. So it's just like, we can't do that to fix that. We can't do this to fix it. It's like, well, you're the finance minister, figure it out. Those tensions reached breaking point this week after Lindner published an economic paper in which several of his demands, including postponing climate targets and restricting social spending, were steadfastly rejected by his colleagues. Yeah, we can't postpone climate targets. There won't be a planet if we postpone climate targets. I mean, I get it. You're the financial minister. The economic, black hole you're trying to save Germany from is very important to you, but economies won't matter if there's nobody living to care about them. So, Lindner.
Rich people thought.
Yeah.
Lindner. People think money's more important than anything.
Has broken my trust many times, Schultz said on Wednesday, adding that he believed his former finance minister was more concerned with the interest of his own party than cooperating with his coalition partners. Lindner, for his part, said Schultz refused to recognize the need for a new economic awakening in our country. Coalition, which also includes the environmentalist Green Party, has seen its popularity plummet since April after bitter infighting on key issues. According to a poll conducted by public broadcaster ARD, just 14% of German public was satisfied with the government as of October this year, the lowest rating for a ruling government in Germany in decades. Nobody's satisfied because they realize that the government has been dragging its feet for decades on the fact that the planet is dying and that everything that we rely on is on the planet, okay? Food, safety, logic, everything. If there's no planet for humans to live on, then yeah, there's not going to be any point. And all the governments everywhere, this is a global issue, have been dragging their feet, and we're hitting that wall.
Nobody values education and knowledge anymore.
We're hitting that wall. We're hitting the wall of, oh shit, we can't do anything now because we waited too long. And now people who are normal, who have no control, who put the control in their governments to fix these things and make sure that they're safe, right? As I learned in my government class, the reason governments exist is to stop chaos. They haven't stopped chaos. They've only postponed the chaos. And now all the voting people are going, oh shit, the chaos is coming. And I'm disappointed in every single politician that's ever existed. And I'm just going to vote for whatever because it's fucked. That's, I think, what most people are feeling right now. In general, everywhere.
I'm hoping for space alien invasion myself. I want space aliens to come here and fucking dominate us. I don't care.
Yeah.
I mean, we're completely clueless.
Yeah.
Completely. We're just poking around in the dark with sticks. We don't have no idea. Because anytime we get scientists that say things, we try to ridicule them. You're a propagandist. Okay, whatever. Sorry.
No, you're right. It's like I'm saying myself. I mean, look, this coalition was, like they said earlier in the other article, this coalition was built on false cooperations because Christian democratic parties are very conservative in Europe. They are almost like trying to return to the time where we didn't know the sun. We orbited the sun.
They're the Spanish Inquisition. That's what they are. They're the Spanish fucking Inquisition.
And honestly, I don't see why Christian Democrats should care about money, except for the fact that I think we can say most religious people, most religious people care a lot about money because they know money is power and they like to be in power. So if they were real Christians, they wouldn't give a shit about the economy, but they really do care because they want all those rich people who donate to their churches or whatever to keep donating to the churches. And if they're happy, then, you know, everyone else can be happy. But either way, coalition's broken. The Green Party, as usual, the leftists are eating themselves from the inside. And opposition parties, including the Christian Democratic Party, have rejected a general election set for the end of March out of hand. They don't want a vote for no confidence on January. They want to vote on no confidence tomorrow. There was absolutely no reason to put up the confidence vote to January, the CDU's leader Friedrich Merz said, adding the coalition had lost their mandate to govern alongside their collapse. Experts have warned that an interim period of instability could have consequences for Germany's ability to govern, both domestically and as Europe's biggest economy. This means that Germany will not be able to play a leading role at the European level. While Germany has not distinguished itself in this respect over the past 3 years, we're now going to see an even less initiative, flexibility, and predictability coming out of Berlin. Jana Puglieren, head of the European Council of Foreign Relations Berlin office, said. Merz and Scholz are expected to discuss a no-confidence vote on, well, soon. They've probably already, I guess they've already decided it, because this says on Thursday, so I think they've already talked about it. Yeah, because this is an article from yesterday. So I have no idea if they've actually discussed this no-confidence vote at all. Let me look it up real quick, just to make sure that I'm up to date here. Because they said they were supposed to talk about it yesterday. But it looks like only news is about how it collapsed and there's a coalition breakdown, but not anything about no confidence vote news yet, I think. Okay, here we go. There's a Yahoo News article real quick that says Olaf Scholz has rejected calls for no confidence vote after he fired his minister, and he will just lead the country with a minority until next year. So that's his plan. Scholz is not stressing to take any pushes for a vote of confidence sooner than January. So if you want to have a no confidence vote, you're gonna have to wait till next year. We're gonna have budget gaps in our budget for 2025, and that's because our coalition broke down, and we can't afford to try to chase after a majority this close to the end of the year. Like there's 21 days as early as they can do it. It's not
of this planet.
It's just like it's not possible to elect a government and elect a majority in the next like month and a half in order for it to do anything. Come on, guys. Let's be realistic here. Governments don't do stuff that quickly, okay? Even if they were to have next week a no confidence vote and an election in December, what would it change? Nothing. Because they'd have to reorganize everything for the next 3 months anyway. So they might as well be organized before they have this vote so that they're ready to take power. If there is a change of government in March, they'll already be ready for it because they've been given the warning that we're probably going to have another election in March. So get ready if you want to lead the country for that. But there's our story on Germany, and on to yours.
this problem with people wanting to leave America now. What country are we going to go to? Everybody else is fucked up too.
Also, everyone else doesn't like immigrants, so good luck. No.
Yeah, it's like Germany, they'll be goose-stepping to Wagner in a couple of weeks. You just guarantee that. They'll be like, let's annex the Czech Republic. What?
To be fair, the people who have the privilege to leave the country are usually white people who, you know, if I can pull my Native American heritage out here, don't belong in America to begin with. So if they go back to Germany or Scotland or wherever they came from originally in the 1800s, whatever, they'll probably be fine. It's the people who were forced into America, you know, like people who are descendants of slaves. They have nowhere really to go. I guess they can go back to, you know, maybe somewhere in Africa. Hopefully.
You can go anywhere you want for the most part. It's just
like
if you can afford to do it.
Exactly.
I don't know.
And a lot of those people who really need to leave can't afford it. That's unfortunately the problem, because America is a country built for the rich in a lot of ways. So
get on a refugee boat.
Yeah, you're gonna have to.
Anyway, in fire news, as we were talking about Germany and Europe's failure to deal with climate change, which is it's a worldwide thing. Actually, probably China's ahead of everybody because they're getting electric cars built, even if they're not great. They're still trying, right? And our hot planet keeps on a-burning. And of course, this happens every year in Southern California with the dry falls they have there and the Santa Ana winds. California wildfires destroyed 132 structures. This is from Christopher Weber and Noah Berger, also of AP News. Yes, we're using them exclusively today. A Southern California wildfires destroyed 132 structures, mostly homes, in less than 2 days, fire officials said Thursday, as raging winds were forecast to ease. The fires started Wednesday morning in Ventura County, has grown to about 32 square miles, or as they know it in other countries, 83 square kilometers. At 5% containment, its cause has not been yet determined. 10 people have been injured in the course of the fire, Ventura County Sheriff James Fryhoff said. Most of them suffered from smoke inhalation and other non-life-threatening injuries. The fire officials said 88 other structures were damaged, but not specify whether they had been burned or affected by water or smoke damage. Some 10,000 people remained under evacuation orders Thursday as the mountain fire continued to threaten some 3,500 structures in suburban neighborhoods, ranches, and agriculture areas around Camarillo in Ventura County. For those uninitiated, Ventura County is the county immediately north of Los Angeles County, where Los Angeles is. County officials said crews working in steep terrain with support from water-dropping helicopters were focusing is a new word I just invented. We're focusing on protecting homes on hillsides along with fire's northeast edge near the city of Santa Paula, home to more than 30,000 people. Kelly Barton watched as firefighters sifted through the charred rubble of her parents' ranch home of 20 years in the hills of Camarillo with a view of the Pacific Ocean. The views uncovered 2 safes and her parents' collection of vintage door knockers undamaged among the devastation. This was their forever retirement home, Barton said on Thursday. Now in their 70s, they have to start over. Well, they probably got insurance, no? I don't know. I don't know how insurance works. I just don't want my house to burn down unless I got insurance, right? Her father returned to the house an hour after evacuating Wednesday to find it already destroyed. He was able to move 4 of their vintage cars to safety, but 2, including a Chevy Nova he had had since he was 18, burnt to toast, Barton said. Probably should have moved all your cars. Officials in several Southern California counties and urged residents to be on the watch for fast-spreading blazes, power outage, and downed trees during the latest round of notorious Santa Ana winds. Santa Ana's are the dry, warm, gusty northeast winds that blow from the interior of Southern California towards the coast and offshore, moving in the opposite direction of the normal onshore flow that carries moist air from the Pacific. They typically occur during the fall months and continue through winter and into early spring. Ariel Cohen, the National Weather Service meteorologist in charge of Oxnard, said Santa Ana winds are subsiding in the lower elevations but remain gusty across the higher elevations Thursday evening. The red flag warnings indicating conditions for high fire dangers expired in the area except for the Santa Susana Mountains, Cohen said. The warnings will expire 11 a.m. Friday in the mountains. The Santa Ana winds are expected to return early to midweek next week, Cohen added. The mountain fire was burning in a region that had seen some of California's most destructive fires over the years. The fire swiftly grew from less than half a square mile to more than 16 square miles in a little more than 5 hours on Wednesday. By Thursday evening, it was mapped out at about 32 square miles, and Governor Gavin Newsom had proclaimed a state of emergency in the county. All right, so there's the update on the Southern California wildfires on our hot planet, which is, we are totally doomed because the United States is going to start burning more oil, going to start doing less conservation, and they're basically going to doom the world till the end. Because that's what we do at our United States. We fuck up the planet and act like somebody else did it. So.
And what are we on? On only 1,617 days to go, so.
Oh, yeah. 4.5 years of this debauchery. We put out of our misery, hopefully, by the Apophis, the asteroid. I'm going to start calling it Apophy the God from now on.
All right.
Just you get here and you start trembling, make a right turn and slam right into, say, I don't know, some major city. Just what you do. What should all just come to an end?
Okay. Well, out of the doomsday.
You can do it, Apophis.
Countdown to. You're not done?
No, I am done.
Oh, okay. To some culture news, let's talk about jazz guitarist Pat Metheny. And Metheny, looking back on working with Joni Mitchell and David Bowie. This is from Amar Kalai on The Guardian. Pat Metheny is pretty much everywhere. For the past 4 decades, the 70-year-old guitarist has been crisscrossing the globe, playing an average of 150 shows a year. Wow, that's like half his year is just full of playing shows. Instantly recognizable thanks to his wild mop of hair and the custom 3-necked 42-string guitar he wields on stage, Metheny has released more than 50 albums, won 20 Grammys, and collaborated with Dave Bowie and Joni Mitchell, as well as free jazz pioneer Ornette Coleman and bass legend Jaco Pastorius. When speaking with him, he is 160 dates into a solo tour and fighting with Apache Wi-Fi in a hotel in Nancy, France. That really leaves an image of a guitar with hundreds of strings on screen rather than his signature plumage. While he meticulously keeps written record of each show to improve his honest performance, Metheny is widely considered a master improviser and virtuoso, pioneering an intricate harmonic style that is dexterous as it is melodic. Between shows and travel as his current tour kicked off, Pat recorded 13 solo compositions that make up his latest release, Moondial. Spanning the intimacy of Chick Corea cover, do everything to a down-tempo reworking of his 2012 composition, This Belongs to You, and the instantly recognizable melody of the Beatles' Here, There, and Everywhere. It feels like Pat at his most tenderly introspective. Growing up near Kansas City with a trumpet-playing father, Pat took up the horn as his first instrument. It was a Beatles TV performance that would turn his attention to the guitar. The word was I was a terrible trumpet player, and so I was keen to move on. I got a guitar for my 12th birthday and played it nonstop in high school. But the ability to think in trumpet stays with me. I always take a breath before I play a note. That moment of pause really helps me. Yeah, as a wind player myself, breathing before I do things. I always do that as well. I'm like, but I'm not doing anything. By 18, he had developed a reputation as a prodigy and was offered a place at the University of Miami. It was the happiest day of my parents' lives because I hadn't taken a book home since I was 14. So they had resigned themselves to me never getting into college, he says. The second night after I arrived in Miami, I went to a jazz club. This guy played bass for one tune, and it was like he had dropped out of a spaceship. That was the first time I met Jaco Pastorius. Or is it Jaco Pastorius? I have no idea.
Might be Jaco.
who would go on to become the most influential bassist of all time. Well, I'm going to have to listen to his stuff because I love bassists. Thank you for redeeming your daily elixir, Dulce. The pair struck up a close friendship and began playing together on a series of dumb gigs with D-list celebrities in Miami Beach. He laughs. Within a year, the university hired Pat to become a faculty member. By the time he turned 19, Berklee College of Music approached him to teach at their facility. At 19, he was already a teacher. Wow, amazing. That would never happen these days. You'd still be in school until you're 28. You need 15 degrees now to become a teacher.
You can be a teacher's aide when you're 19.
Yeah. It was a crazy time. Since neither me nor Jocko joined... Like, what did I say? Oh, it was a crazy time. Since neither me nor Jocko had any notoriety. We were just playing, he says. Not long afterward, Jocko joined the pioneering fusion group Weather Report, released his debut album, and put on a debut that all happened within a few months. Following the release of the album, Bright Size Life, and the heralding of that sinuous guitar style as a bracing new voice in jazz, the relentless touring began as Pistorius started using drugs. Uh-oh. Not the big druggo. In 1979, though, he and Pat had the opportunity to play with Joni Mitchell on her Shadows and Lights tour. I always try to get into places where I'm not quite sure what to do, and playing with Joni was one of those, he says. But Jocko was a different Jocko at that point, and I thought by doing that tour I might be able to help him. Pistorius died in 1987 after an altercation with a nightclub employee. While Pat may have been surrounded by musicians with substance issues, he himself has never had a drink, tried drugs, or smoked. It's not for a moral reason. I've just never been interested. You know what? Same here, Pat. I've never really been interested. I drink very, very casually, socially, and very, very, like maybe once a year do I smoke anything. And that's because there's somebody else doing it, and I'm just like, yeah, well, you can't say no to a blunt, can ya? It's just rude. But I'm rarely around those kind of people, so I rarely do any of that kind of stuff. I can look at the table in front of me for like an hour and think, wow, somebody made that. So I'm tripping out all the time already. I can't even imagine what would happen with substances involved. Yeah, I'm also always a yap box. I don't need sativa to make me any more yappier. Someone who might have matched Pat's capacity for tripping out at the miraculousness of everyday life was David Bowie, with whom he worked on the score for the 1985 film The Falcon and The Snowman. He's one of the most amazing presences I've ever encountered, Pat said. We first met to watch a cut of the film together, and he was busy scribbling on a yellow legal pad, which by the end of had 25 or 30 of the most brilliant song ideas on it. When we then went to record the track, it was like watching a master at work. He did the whole thing in 2 takes. We watched him on a video feed from the vocal booth. I keep telling myself it was real rather than television. For someone with such a rich history of encounters and collaboration, there's only one thing that Pat is relentlessly focused on: moving forwards. I've got no interest in looking back, since doing something well before has no impact on what might happen tomorrow, he says. I'm lucky that I'm still fit enough to play 160 more dates a year, and I'll keep going as long as I can. My existence is all about what's next. And with that, Pat has another show and another audience to prepare for. So you can check out, I guess his next shows will be 14th of November in London at the Barbican Hall, 15th and 16th of November, part of a London Jazz Festival, and at Saffron Hall, Saffron Walden, on November 17th. So I think those are his last dates before the holidays. So if you find yourself in London or near Saffron Walden, where's Saffron? And that must be Greater London, right? Where is that?
Pat Metheny with his wild hair.
Oh, it's in Essex. So in Essex, he's also going to be in Essex at the mid-November, and also in London. So if you find yourself in England or you live in England, check him out. The great guitarist of a generation. And on to this day in history.
Played on a lot of studio recordings for a lot of people.
Yeah. Studio musician.
Yep. He's one of them hidden guitars you hear in a lot of stuff he'll never acknowledge.
Wow, that guitar is so good. Who is that? Probably Pat. Especially if it's from the 1970s, I think. And the 80s.
Yep. There's a group of them. You hear him on Steely Dan. You hear him on a lot of stuff. 19. Are we this day in history?
Yep.
Okay. This day in history. You don't see my mouse clicking hand anymore. I moved it down. This is my chair moved down. That's what that crashing noise was.
Yeah.
That's what it sounded like. Oh shit, I hope he's okay. It sounded like he fell off a chair. Anyway, this year, and this is this day in history as we conclude this week. 1656, English astronomer and mathematician Edmund Halley, the first to calculate the orbit of Halley's Comet, was born in Greenwich, Kent, England on this day. 1837, one of the first institutions of higher education for women in the United States, Mount Holyoke Female Seminary, was opened in Massachusetts. It's now called Mount Holyoke College, and I'm sure it's co-ed by now. 1884, Swiss psychiatrist Hermann Rorschach, who devised the ink blot test that bears his name and that was widely used for clinical diagnosing of psychopathology, was born. So Rorschach, happy birthday to Rorschach test. And 1900, Margaret Mitchell was born in Atlanta, Georgia. She wrote Gone with the Wind. 1923, Adolf Hitler and Erich Ludendorff attempted to start an insurrection in Germany against the Weimar Republic, but in the beer hall push, as it became known, was suppressed the following day. Hitler up to his nasty business in 1923. 1932, in this day, during the Great Depression, Franklin Roosevelt was elected President of the United States over Herbert Hoover to win the presidency of the United States. 1956, more comet news. Air-end Roland was discovered. It was remarkable for its anomalous second tail, which projected toward rather than away from the sun. So its tail was pointing towards the sun. Its second tail, I guess. Weird. 1960, JFK, John F. Kennedy was elected President of the United States. In 1962, the epic film Mutiny on Bounty was released. It recounts a 1789 mutiny on the HMS Bounty, starring Marlon Brando. It was perhaps best known for its production difficulties, many of which centered on star Marlon Brando, who became notoriously hard to work with. 1966, President Lyndon B. Johnson signed a tax bill that included a rider allowing the National Football League to merge with the American Football League, thus preventing illegal challenges involving antitrust issues. In 1972, in his day, the American cable television company HBO officially debuted as it aired in 1971, Sometimes a Great Notion, which starred Paul Newman. So happy birthday to HBO. HBO is 52 today. 1978, American illustrator Norman Rockwell died. He's best known for his covers of the Saturday Evening Post that showed American contemporary life in a, what do you want to call it, a sentimental light. 1994, in the U.S. midterm elections, we don't care. There's more shit I'm not going to talk about. Okay, 2020, Canadian-born American television personality Alex Trebek died. He was the host of the game show Jeopardy! From 1984 to 2020. So Alex Trebek, of course, died the same week as Sean Connery. And if you watch those Saturday Night Live skits with Sean Connery and Alex Trebek, Daryl Hammond playing Sean Connery, and Will Ferrell playing Alex Trebek, they're classics. And the coincidence that they died the same week is amazing. Anyway, on this day in 2013 is our featured event, Philippines struck by Super Typhoon Haiyan. On this day in 2013, the Philippines endured what many considered a worst natural disaster when the country was struck by Super Typhoon Haiyan, one of the most powerful cyclones ever recorded to strike land. Totally terrible. Feature biographies John Milton. John Milton, born on December 9th, 1608, but he died on November 8th in Chalfont, St. Giles, England. John Milton, English poet. Other birthdays today, Dorothy Day, not Doris Day. American journalist Dorothy Day, born in 1897. We covered Martha Mitchell. It's Minnie Riperton's birthday. Minnie Riperton, born in 1947, died of cancer. She had breast cancer at the age of 32. And she's the mother of a famous comedian, famous actress. If you know who it is, I don't know. Blurt it out. Do you know who she's the mother of?
No.
Don't know. Maya Rudolph, the Saturday Night Live comedian Maya Rudolph, who plays Kamala Harris on
Okay.
Saturday Night Live these days. Yes, she is Maya Rudolph's mommy. Bonnie Raitt's birthday today. She was born in 1949, American slide guitar player, who if you want to talk about people that end up in a lot of people's records, like Pat Metheny, Bonnie Raitt also ended up in a lot of people's records because she could play the old slide guitar. 1954, Kazuo Ishiguro, Japanese-British author, was born. And 1966 is the birthday of Gordon Ramsay, Scottish chef and restaurateur who has no inner voice. And what national day is it today? It's National Harvey Wallbanger Day. That's a drink involving, I believe, orange juice. What's in a Harvey Wallbanger? I don't think I've ever had one. Harvey Wallbanger. Harvey Wallbanger recognizes a fruity and spirited cocktail made with 3 parts vodka, 1 part Galliano, and 6 parts orange juice. So it's basically a glorified screwdriver. So there you go. That's what it is. Because a screwdriver is orange juice and vodka. Harvey Wallbanger, the glorified screwdriver. Anyway, it's National STEM and STEAM Day. STEM is this thing in the United States: science, technology, something. Nerd groups, right? And the controversy in this United States is that they have a STEM, what do they call it? Like a pipeline they put you in, and you don't do anything but science, technology, and math and stuff like that, and you don't learn any humanities. You totally disregard English, literature, any of that stuff, and you live in a world of science where people are just incidental to the world. Anyway, it's National STEM Day. National Parents as Teachers Day. Parents are the biggest teachers in your life. Your kids watch you, whether you like it or not. They watch everything you do, and they learn from it. And they say, I'm either going to do that or not do that, but my dad's doing it, so hey, maybe it's okay. Teachers as parents, figure your shit out before you have kids, please. Anyway, National Cappuccino Day, and that's what we're going to end with today on November 8th, 2024. Happy Friday on Before Cappuccino.
I'm gonna make a cappuccino after this. And this has been Ally here from the Netherlands. Yet again, have a good weekend. Take care of yourself out there. I guess mark your calendars for April 2029. And
yeah, April 13th,
if you need the
Friday
reminder.
the 13th too.
Yeah, and we will see you on Monday for Mucking Fun Day. So we'll take care out there. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you want to see some more news from our father-daughter coalition here. We're not the same people, and we have differing opinions, but we can still get along. And this is, like the video if you enjoyed learning about all the things, especially Germany's collapsing government that's not really collapsing. And we will see you then. Take care out there. This intro is already long enough. Let's go to our mic drop moment.
Yep. Right on. The extreme high notes she can hit.
Yeah, I think I know this song.
Or what's impressive. This is from the Midnight Special. Wow.
Yeah, I know this song. I think it's sampled in something as well. Or sort of TikTok sound, you know?
And you can see Maya Rudolph, right? You can see her face.
Yeah. I can. Those whistle notes, yeah.
See, if you got a voice that high, your life has to be short, apparently. I don't know.
I don't think that's it. I hope it's not. That's not why.
all the glasses in the room just broke, right?
Yeah.
She could shatter glass. You turn it just up a little bit, she could shatter glass.
Yeah, living in springtime.
Oh, this is right after
acting.
she had a baby too. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, maybe this was about her baby. Probably. I'll take that bet. This is about her child.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
She name checks her, I think. I don't know in this performance, but
Amazing. What an uplifting song. Beautiful inside, not in the outside. I feel like she's a one-hit wonder, though.
Today.
She's gonna have any other hits?
Huh?
Did she have any other
She died
hits?
right after this.
Yeah. One-hit wonder, I
Like
guess.
4 years after
Sadly.
this. Yeah, she might. See?
Yeah,
She's
there.
singing to her daughter.
Yeah, Maya. Wow. Wow. Blown away. I'm made out of glass. I broke.
Right?
Yeah. Woo! I wish I could do that whistle thing. But I'm not going to whistle into my mic.
Be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and notify buttons, and follow our other channels, Toxic Alley, History of Gravy, and Scratchy Old Records.